fluid coding and AI. 3 headlines look separate. SpaceX's reported Cursor option, Anthropic renting SpaceX compute, and Karpathy joining Anthropic. Together, they point to a harder truth. AI coding is becoming a fight over compute, distribution, and research loops, not just editor features. The question is not whether one company suddenly wins coding agents. The question is what happens when the best developer tools, the largest training clusters, and the strongest model researchers start linking together. By the end, you should know what is confirmed, what is only reported, and what it means if your team depends on Cursor, Claude Code, or frontier coding models. Start with Cursor. On April 21, 2026, Cursor said it was partnering with SpaceX to accelerate model training. The key line was not just the partnership. Cursor said Composer 2 had reached frontier-level performance at lower cost after continued pre-training, but that further progress was bottlenecked by compute. That is the whole story in miniature. A coding product with huge developer distribution still needs physical training capacity to push its own models forward. Then came the unusual part. Axios and TechCrunch reported that SpaceX had a path to acquire Cursor later in 2026 for $60 billion, or pay $10 billion for joint work if that path was not taken. That does not mean SpaceX bought Cursor. The careful wording is reported option, right to buy, or potential acquisition. For developers, that distinction matters. An option creates uncertainty without yet changing ownership. Cursor has a strange but powerful position. It is a workflow layer for developers, it sells access to frontier models, and it is also trying to train stronger proprietary coding models. The Composer line shows why. Cursor describes Composer 2 as using continued pre-training and Composer 2.5 as pushing harder reinforcement learning and more synthetic tasks. The direction is clear, the product wants to be more than a wrapper. But once you train and serve serious coding agents, compute becomes strategy. Cursor's own benchmark story is also useful, but it needs careful framing. For Composer 2.5, Cursor reported 69.3% on Terminal Bench 2.5, 79.8% on SWE Bench Multilingual, and 63.2% on Cursor Bench v3.1. Those are strong first-party results, not independent proof that the model is best everywhere. Cursor Bench is proprietary, and Cursor itself warned about reward hacking in synthetic tasks. Now connect that to Anthropic. On May 6, 2026, Anthropic announced a compute partnership with SpaceX. Anthropic said it would use all compute capacity at SpaceX's Colossus 1 data center, giving it access to more than 300 megawatts of new capacity and over 220,000 NVIDIA GPUs within the month. The user-facing promise was immediate: higher Claude Code and Claude API limits, plus more capacity for Claude Pro and Claude Max subscribers. The official announcement confirmed capacity, not price. The price came from later reporting. Axios reported that Anthropic would pay SpaceX about $1.25 billion per month through May 2029, with reduced payments during ramp-up and a 90-day termination right for either side. TechCrunch reported the same monthly figure and said the deal could bring xAI more than $40 billion in revenue. Again, separate the layers: official capacity, reported economics. For SpaceX, Colossus changes from a cost center into leverage. It can rent massive capacity to Anthropic. It can attract Cursor into a model training partnership. And, if the reported option is real and exercised, it could connect infrastructure to one of the most important developer surfaces in AI coding. TechCrunch framed this partly as IPO positioning. SpaceX wants investors to see more than rockets, Starlink, and satellites. It wants an AI infrastructure story. This is why the triangle is so weird. Cursor has historically sold access to models like Claude and GPT while building its own Composer models. Anthropic competes in coding with Claude Code, but it is now a SpaceX compute customer. SpaceX and xAI want stronger model infrastructure, more revenue, and potentially developer workflow distribution. These are not clean rivalries anymore. The same companies can be suppliers, competitors, landlords, and acquisition targets at the same time. Karpathy gives this infrastructure story a human signal. TechCrunch reported that Andrej Karpathy, an OpenAI co-founder and former Tesla AI leader, joined Anthropic's pre-training team in May 2026. The interesting detail is the reported mandate. He is not just advising from the outside. Reporting says he is working under Nick Joseph and starting a team focused on using Claude to accelerate pre-training research itself. That role matters because frontier AI research is becoming recursive. The lab is not only training models for users, it is also trying to use those models to speed up research, evaluate training runs, generate hypotheses, inspect failures, and improve the next generation of models. If that loop works, the scarce asset is not just a single brilliant researcher or a single large cluster. It is the combination, compute, evaluation discipline, workflow tooling, and people who know where pre-training breaks. So what should developers actually watch? First, watch limits and pricing. Anthropic explicitly tied the SpaceX deal to higher Claude Code and API capacity, but demand can rise as fast as supply. Second, watch model routing and data policies. If ownership or partnership shift, teams will care about which models their code flows through. Third, watch benchmarks. Vendor benchmarks can be useful, especially when built from real workflows, but they are not a substitute for testing on your own repo. The practical verdict is simple. Do not treat this as SpaceX already buying Cursor. Do not treat Anthropic's reported monthly payment as an official Anthropic disclosure, and do not treat first-party coding benchmarks as universal truth. But do take the pattern seriously. AI coding is moving toward companies that control compute, distribution, evaluation, and the research loop. The nicest editor is still important. It just may not be enough. If you use Cursor, Claude Code, Codex, or terminal agents, this is the part of the market to track closely. Like the video if this helped clarify the bigger pattern, and subscribe to Fluid Coding in AI for more grounded coverage of AI tools, coding agents, and the infrastructure behind them.